Okay, thank you very much, Tinashe. We can start.
All right. Thank you so much, colleagues, and good afternoon to everyone joining us today. My name is Tinashe Mkalela, and I'll be facilitating this session on behalf of the Consulting Engineers of South Africa. And I would like to thank you all for your time and your effort in joining us for this gender mainstreaming webinar, which is focusing on technical women. So what are we going to be talking about today is gender mainstreaming in terms of technical women. It's a webinar series which was established to create a professional platform where women in engineering and technical leadership can share their journey, experiences, challenges, and successes within what historically has been a male-dominated industry. And the purpose then of this session today is not only to celebrate women in these technical spaces, but it's also to engage industry and honestly have constructive discussions around the realities of women in the engineering workplaces, and also to look at barriers to participation and barriers to participation to certain leadership positions, as well as transformation within the engineering sector, and also highlighting the importance of mentorship and as well as professional development in the sector. So today's conversation is particularly important because the engineering profession plays a very fundamental role in the infrastructure delivery and as well as the general economic development of our country. And today, this wonderful event is brought to you by CESA, or Consulting Engineers South Africa. And to some of you who are, well, it's a first for you to hear about this name. CESA stands for Consulting Engineers South Africa, and CESA is a voluntary association which represents consulting engineering firms in South Africa. And it has about more than 600 member firms currently. And the organization plays a very significant role in promoting professionalization, ethical conduct, quality, and infrastructure delivery, as well as transformation and sustainability within the sector. And also, CESA works as an advocacy for consulting engineering firms, and it also supports infrastructure development and delivery excellence across the board, as well as promoting ethical and professional standards in the industry. So this is the program we have for today, and I'll introduce myself formally. My name is Tinashe Mkalela. I'm a professional registered engineering technologist, as well as a professionally registered construction project manager. I've just over 10 years experience in the industry, and I've done significant work across multiple sectors. And some of my endeavors have led for me to win the Young Engineer of the Year 2025 by CESA, as well as the Young Constructor of the Year by CESA. Today, I'm joined by two speakers. I think I'll start with the first one, which is Nonhlanhla Moloko. Ms. Nonhlanhla Moloko is a CEO of a company called Samo Engineering Group, a company which operates in South Africa and the broader SADC region. And she has more than a decade in executive leadership experience, and she has successfully driven organizational growth through innovation, diversification, and strategic leadership. Her experience cuts across electrical engineering, telecommunications, and digital technologies. And prior to her current role, she held various senior leadership positions across organizations such as your Vodacom and Centec, where she contributed significantly to technology and infrastructure advancement. And beyond her executive leadership and current responsibilities, she is also an entrepreneur and a board member and a founder of an internet service provider. Her work is strongly focused on industry collaboration and sustainable business growth, developing high-performing teams and advancing innovation within technical industries. Please kindly join me in welcoming Ms. Nonhlanhla Moloko. And I'll stop my presentation here and allow her to share her presentation. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the welcome and the very nice introduction. Let me just share my slide deck. Please do let me know when you can see it.
Yes, I can see.
Thank you for the introduction and the request to join the session. I'm very honored. There are a lot of people that you could have invited, and you decided to invite the likes of Nonhlanhla. We really appreciate that. I've prepared a very short summary on my journey. I was asked to look at how young engineers can see how our different journeys have played out within the engineering space. So mine will be very focused on what I've had to go through, what happened, and where I am today, and my vision sort of going forward for my specific industry. Where it all began. Ironically, I was looking to do a very different course when I left high school. But on the day I went to register, there was an open day happening at Wits, and I went there, walked up to there, started asking questions. So the school I went to, I was not exposed to a lot of engineering. I did accounting, I did very different courses, maths and science. So I was not exposed to a lot of very technical projects or people within my family or friends. So I was very, very intrigued, and I decided on the spot to change my career and take the engineering route. I registered. Fortunately, my marks were very good. I was accepted, and that's how I started doing electrical engineering. I went all the way to finish my master's in electrical engineering, focusing on telecommunications. So from first year all the way to completing my master's, every course I've done was in one way or another, either about communication or networking or cybersecurity, anything along those lines. In parallel, I think, as you all know, you have to register as a candidate. You have to register as once you graduate, once you meet the requirements. And I did that journey as well, and also opted from the first year to do SAIE, which was not mandatory. But from the first year I registered as a candidate, I also registered for SAIE. We then subsequently, as SAMO, registered for CESA membership. All these voluntary memberships, we should not call them voluntary because they're so important and so strategic in your journey. I think it's necessary for organizations and engineers to be part of these organizations for networking purposes, for meeting like-minded people, and contributing to the industry in terms of technical expertise. I'm also IUDSA member, will be completing my certification for directorship as well. So this is a combination of both technical directorship training, governance, ethics, which is important once you reach a certain level of executive authority. You need to understand the decisions that you're making and the impact of those decisions as well. My experience, I started at Siemens, where they trained us in everything. So in those days, if they needed you to climb a mast or get up a mast or whatever the requirement, we were the ones who did everything. So it was site work, site work, site work. I then went to Cell C, where we were on a training program as well. It was 6 months where they take you around the company. You go do network optimization. You go understand how the NOC works. It was a full rotation of understanding from on the ground, technically, how a network is built and maintained. I then moved to Vodacom, where I started off in technology development, where we're doing product development, we're doing engineering management, technology management. That's what I did at Vodacom for the longest time. And then I decided to then add a bit of business experience to it. So I moved to the enterprise side of Vodacom, where I learned a lot of business, and I learned how engineering mixes with business in that department. It was a well-spent 3 years where I gathered so much understanding of how critical engineering is, even from a commercial perspective. Any company that sort of wanted to do a lot of business with Vodacom would come through this department. So it was very strategic from understanding how to combine both engineering and business at the same time. I then decided that I needed to see what public sector, in comparison to the private sector where I worked. I then moved to Centec, where I was in charge of product development as well. Very technical and position as well. But the balance between understanding both private sector and public sector, I think, is what I needed as well at the time. It was then that I decided to start SAMO Engineering. SAMO was born. I left corporate and went full-time into running SAMO Engineering. We started off doing consulting work, as most engineers do, if they do decide to take that route. And as the years went on, we added services, we added product development, and more recently, we've launched a connectivity company called Molital, which is an ISP, further enhancing the offering in terms of telecommunications. I sort of titled this Building the Foundation, but essentially it's a summary of having both on the left-hand side technical skills, which it doesn't matter how much technology changes and evolves, the basics and the fundamentals don't change. For example, network protocols, they can enhance, but if you don't understand the basics, you're going to really struggle. Also, the implementation of those technical skills can be in so many different iterations, depending on the company that you work for, depending on the requirement. It could be a connectivity requirement, for example. We work with a lot of property developers who need connectivity. So if that area, for example, has no connectivity, we need to design and engineer a solution that meets their requirements. It could be a very congested area. So if you need to know your basics and apply them, no matter how complex the situation is. That's what I've always found works for me. In terms of the company side, as much as you wear the hat of being technical, you sort of have to mentor and grow engineers to run that and sort of manage and learn how to manage. We were not taught the softer skills in engineering. It was very, very technical. I've had to learn over the past sort of 13, 14 years how to bring out the best in people so that they run the technical, and you sort of just do the overseeing and the sign off that's required from an engineering perspective. But that's why it's so important to have a balance as well. Once you do engineering, go for your Toastmasters, learn how to do presentations, learn how to manage people, and that sort of also prepares you for the executive positions that you're looking for. I think in my career, there's been so much change from a technology perspective. When I started working, we're still doing GSM. Right now, we're talking about 5G, 6G, and there's IoT. I wanted to really illustrate that in telecommunications, there's so much change. There's so much upgrades. There's so much that you need to keep abreast of. You need to keep studying. You need to keep understanding what's required. That it's a field that you'll never ever grow stagnant in. And that said, you need to always make sure that you sort of surround yourself with the right people that you can learn from. We have amazing partners, OEM partners that train us. We go for training. So we kept up to date with any technology requirements that need to service our end customers at the end of the day. What are my milestones? This was a tough one to put together. It's very hard to sort of blow your own horn, but I tried. I've been in telco for over 20 years, starting from as a trainee, and understood how different organizations work. I think has contributed to how SAMU has grown as well and how we see ourselves moving forward. We have large projects that we've delivered, multi-year projects, small projects, connectivity projects, projects that overlap between telecommunications, electrical. We partner with civil engineers in multidisciplinary teams. What brings the golden thread that keeps everything working is that as engineers, it doesn't matter what vertical you're in. We're governed by the same principles of delivering something that is you're willing to sign your name against, and you are sure that it follows the ethics and the requirements that the industry has prescribed. We've worked in over 11 countries. We've got partner companies all the way going up to Addis Ababa. SADC, we've got offices in the SADC countries that are project-based. So as the projects extend outside the borders, we go with those partners that we work with and oversee. SAMU has also received awards from the Smart Village project, which was recently done for Madimbo. We also got a Gold Partner Award for Infinera, where we built the transmission network for their customer at the time, who was CECOM. Network rollouts, we've done multiple network rollouts, whether it's wireless, fixed, and whether it's access or transmission. SAMU has got experience in all of those. We've also transitioned from hands-on engineering to technical leadership, where we've got partners and subcontractors we've worked with for over 6-7 years who don't change. And as we sort of change and grow and progress, they also grow and progress with us. We like to keep the same sort of partners working with us as we have an understanding of how the projects are run and completed. The engineers that have gone through our doors are countless. Some come through just for in-service training. Some remain and work. Some is through projects. We've really, I'm very proud when I see some of the people that and where they are today. There's a lady who used to run our bid office. She was an electrical engineer, but she ran the entire bid office because we needed somebody with an engineering background who understands what we're trying to bid for. And and she's gone on to do amazing things in other organizations as well. There's a lot that I've learned, so it was trying to sort of sum it up in 4 points is not fitting. But if you do decide, or you are in the telco space, just embrace that it's always going to keep changing. There's people who are really working on the next technology. I sit in the forums of very smart people who are already developing new specifications that are 5-10 years out, but that work has already started. And what that means for us, what does it mean for the equipment that we deploy? What does it mean for the technology? What does it mean for the end user in South Africa, in the village, etc.? So that work is already happening, and it's definitely still going to evolve. The best engineers translate complex technical concepts into business value. If you are able to develop a solution or product that can be commercially viable, that is, in my mind, engineering, true engineering, because ultimately you'll be solving a problem. Ultimately, you'll be reducing complexity. And that is something that I find has worked as a focus point. And we just drive that. We internally have a development team that is sort of given leeway to develop and present and commercialize products as well. I think it's important to allow, I don't want to say graduates, but younger people who have very, very big ideas. I solve a lot of problems by just giving it to them, and they come back with the most amazing suggestions and shortcuts and how to better this product or the other. And that's really a theme that I try to share and make sure it's happening within the organization. Think systems, individual components matter less than how they work together. It's very important that in whatever project is happening, whatever we do, what is the system around it? What is the process so that it can be repeatable, so that anyone can sort of walk in and take over that position. And that is really a fundamental engineering principle that I've learned from day one, to understand what does this process or principle or logic stem from. Invest in people. I cannot see who's part of the audience, but if there are people who are in executive positions, are CEOs, I'd really encourage that you sort of focus on your engineers and allow them to develop and allow them to, but not just develop and just force the commercialization aspect of the product or solution or product that they have developed, because that's when they're able to really have value in the industry as well. Our road ahead, my personal vision going forward as well. We recently added Internet of Things as an offering as part of the technology evolution. And that came about by really a project we were doing for one of the large MNOs, where there was a requirement to not just deploy, but to also monitor and to also do a lot of intelligence in terms of what we're deploying. And that's how we will be moving forward, as well as Samo Engineering. We also, because of the environment we work in, have a lot of dependence on electrical. So in-house, we also oversee electrical design, electrical installation. We also have companies that we do both telecoms and electrical for the same end customer. So it also goes back to the fundamentals of the electrical engineering degree that really covers quite a lot to prepare me, that prepared me for where I am now. As we move forward as well, we're also going to be bridging a lot of architectures. This is an industry that continues to evolve and continues to integrate with other technologies. So we always have to find a way to keep the engineering profession protected, but also move forward and be a bit flexible in terms of our service architectures. We are pulled into smart city projects that force us to be very creative, that force us to incorporate AI, incorporate data and analytics. This was not there when we studied. This is something that we had to learn, we had to implement as we go. And as much as it's very critical to be aware of your fundamentals, that needs to be merged with where technology is. I think a simple example is a project we did for one of the SOEs where we deployed a network connectivity solution, but they then wanted us to sort of give them the data analytics of whatever we had deployed. And that was a true learning curve. And now it's become one of our offerings, it's become one of our product sets within the organization. And also, as part of a broader passion that I have in terms of training, we've partnered with two entities, one in the Eastern Cape, where we absorb any of their graduates that come out of there, and one in Midrand, where we actually train people on how to roll out. So we've got actual physical infrastructure that they can go spend like a month, 3 months. And we've simulated a lot of environments where they can train so that when projects do come, they've had some training already. We'll continue to grow that. And once these two, I think, as have grown to our targets, we will then look at expanding to the rest of the regions nationally as well. I think then that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for the time that you've given me to share. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much, Nhlanhla. That was a really brilliant presentation. And I would like to urge the participants to then type in their questions in the question and answer or chat box that's there. Please do type your questions. I think we'll hold on to the questions for later. For now, we are going to move on to our second speaker. If you guys can allow me to, introduce Miss Nirvana Lawton. Nirvana Lawton is a professional civil engineer and director at AR2 Engineers based in Durban. She brings extensive expertise in large-scale infrastructure projects and has established herself as a strong advocate for gender diversity, mentorship, and transformation in the STEM professions. In addition to her professional engineering work, she actively contributes to industry development through several leadership and professional roles, including being the vice president of the Society of Asphalt Technology, as well as an active member of the CESA's Advocacy Committee, and as well as a member of CESA, and as well as a member of MSMART. Her work and leadership continue to contribute meaningfully towards advancing technical excellence, inclusivity within the engineering sector. If you can all please allow me to welcome Ms. Nirvana Lawton as she takes us through her presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tinashe, for your kind words. I'm going to pull up my presentation. Just give me the go ahead when you see it, please.
Okay, let me just do so.
Yes, we can see it from CESA offices.
Great, great. Okay, thanks. All right, good day all. And again, thank you to CESA for creating this platform to emphasize gender mainstreaming within the engineering fraternity. I thought I'd start off with a fun fact. Gender mainstreaming, firstly, is a global strategy that integrates gender perspective into all levels of policy development, legislation, and organizational programs to ensure both men and women benefit equally and ultimately achieving gender equality. So gender equality isn't a women issue, and to me, it is an engineering necessity. When we integrate diverse perspectives into our technical environments, I think the solutions we build for society become way more robust, innovative, and it's reflective of the world we serve. The South African engineering industry is also simultaneously facing aging technical leadership, scarce skills shortages, transformation pressures, infrastructure delivery demands, competition for technical talent, and low women participation in engineering. So the conversation around women in engineering, therefore, cannot be reduced to just employment equity compliance within consulting engineering, infrastructure delivery, municipal engineering, construction management, and specialist engineering disciplines. But it is fundamentally about industry sustainability, talent availability, professional capacity, innovation, and long-term infrastructure delivery. Before I start walking you through my 23-year-long career path, I wanted to emphasize that South Africa's legal framework firmly supports gender mainstreaming. So the key legislation that's promoting women in employment, the Employment Equity Act, which identifies women as a designated group, let's just back up there. Sorry. I need to move this box away. There we go. Okay, so it's the Employment Equity Act, which identifies women as a designated group. It's requiring employers to create fair representation at all levels and eliminate barriers to advancement. We've also got the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, broad-based Black economic empowerment, which promotes the economic empowerment of all Black Black people, with specific focus on women's ownership, management, and skills development. There's also the promotion of equality and prevention of unfair discrimination, labor relations, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, which provides for maternity leave, family responsibility leave, and regulates working hours. And finally, the Commission for Gender Equality Act. Now, all these laws act together to create an environment where employers must actively work towards hiring, training, and promoting women, especially into top management positions. I think today I want to take you through my engineering journey with a focus on how and what to do to offer greater women participation in the technical environments. I think as a young Nirvana, I always was planning. My career path was foremost in my mind, but I think like many young women, the how of engineering felt like a distant blueprint. I knew I wanted to build, I wanted to solve, and I wanted to create. But I quickly realized that the technical environment wasn't just about calculations. It was about finding a seat at a table that wasn't originally designed with me in mind. So the reality is that engineering remains one of the most technically specialized and historically male-dominated sector in South Africa. So what's the challenge? I think the challenge, industry is expected to transform demographics, increase female participation, maintain technical excellence, deliver increasingly complex infrastructure projects, all while operating within a constrained engineering talent pipeline. So women in engineering are not only a transformation consideration, I think they are a strategic industry resource. Think about that. Increasing women's participation strengthens technical sustainability. It improves leadership succession, innovation capability, stakeholder engagement, project delivery outcomes, and it also strengthens long-term industry resilience. I think it is pretty clear. Women are part of the resource pool that is much needed in engineering. However, the engineering conundrum is not only for recruitment, it is retention and progression. And what we find is that the key pipeline losses or leakages occur at STEM school participation, university enrollment, graduate development, professional registration, mid-career retention, and leadership progression. I think here, at the onset, I had created a vision board, and I thought it followed a very ambitious sequence to become more than just technical support in a design office. When I was putting this particular slide together and I had to pull out my vision board, I was amazed at how the vision board remained relevant all this while. So for me, this vision board reflects my past and present, and I'd like to unpack it with you. So the first thing I thought I should do is attend my dream tertiary institution and obviously get the qualification I need. But the trick here to succeed is you must be socially, technically, and financially ready, since spots at these institutions are highly competitive. Top-tier performance in the sciences isn't just an advantage, it is a non-negotiable baseline. I also think that you should ensure that the institution provides you with an engineering program that is accredited and recognized by the Engineering Council of South Africa. Once I got the qualification, I looked ahead and I decided, yes, the next stop is going to be register with CESA as a professional. Now, professional registration, in my opinion, still remains a major barrier. Many women engineers face limited mentorship exposure, reduced site experience opportunities, insufficient technical supervision, and slow progression into professional registration. And this impacts industry. It directly affects technical sign-off capacity, succession planning, and future technical leadership. Statistically, less than 25% of engineering candidates are women, and roughly about 6% of professionally registered engineers are women. I thought I'd probably just highlight some key points to the road of registration because it is quite fundamental in your career. So registration, firstly, is mandatory by law for practicing engineers, offering legal authority to sign off on projects, enhancing career prospects, and raising earning potential. It signifies professional competence, provides international recognition via the Washington Accord, and assures accountability in public. For me, this one stands out. Mentorship bridges the gap. So finding allies, both men and women, who championed my technical growth was pivotal. So join firms with structured mentorship and skills transfer programs. When I finished my engineering program, I joined Stuart Scott International at the time. I think they're now called RHDHV. And they had a very well-structured mentoring program. And because of me being in that program, it became critical for me that mentorship towards my road to registration formed a focal point each and every time I considered new employment. So I can't stress the importance of mentorship. It's also understanding the culture of the firm. Ideally, you would like the firm to be aligned to upskilling from within to promote ideally aligned to upskilling from within to positively impact industry at large. The road to registration, guys, can be long without self-discipline and clear timelines. So in my case, I registered with CESA 15 years after starting my career. And this was primarily because I prioritized work commitments over my registration goals. While some might view this delay as a setback, I think my tenacity allowed me to reach a directorship level shortly after registration. Today, I generate 80% of the income for Ayeti Engineers, a firm that employs approximately 80 people nationwide. So my advice is to start strong in the sciences. Set your goals for employment to bolster your registration process and never stop pushing in that direction. So now that we have the qualification, we've registered with the Engineering Council of South Africa. The next things I endeavored was to become a leader of a team or department and work on award-winning and noteworthy infrastructure. Here, I believe that technical mastery is the ultimate equalizer. When your designs are precise and your logic is sound, your work speaks louder than any bias. Participate. Get involved within all stages of a project lifecycle. When you have a suggestion or find yourself within project meetings, speak up. Articulate yourself clearly. Engineering is also technology-driven. Embrace technology to create efficacy within your workflows. Upskill yourself with AI-driven tools. Stay abreast with impacts that affect your designs, such as climate change, and ultimately strive to provide well-thought-out, sustainable design solutions. Don't only become a doer, but think broadly when given a project or a task. In my case, some of the flagship projects, I'm currently serving as the assistant contracts engineer on the prestigious Sandrail N3 corridor upgrades. I also fulfill the role of project engineer and leader for the upgrades of the Pubane water treatment plant from a 20 megaliter per day to an 80 megaliter per day production rate. This particular treatment plant is located at the foot of the Goederstroom Dam. And when I was pushing through the ranks all these number of years, I always raised my hands to work on various infrastructure projects. And the aim was to interpret and understand design guidelines, provide my best effort on each task I was assigned on to ultimately work independently as quickly as possible. I often visited sites where I was the design engineer, and it is quite fitting, but it is always the best teacher to see how you can tweak your designs to increase efficiency during the building process when you visit the works you've designed. Let's see, what's the next one? Yeah, so the next one is participate in industry, become part of infrastructure development policy. So again, this was all me thinking ahead when I was still young. I think at that time for me, it was not only to give back, but there's also a visibility issue here. And I think visibility matters, ladies. Being a woman in a technical role isn't just a job. It's a living invitation for the next generation to join the fraternity. There are many voluntary associations you can gain membership within your profession. I'm a civil engineer, so I've focused my presentation around that. Just so you're aware, a voluntary association in engineering is a non-profit organization, institute, or society formed by professionals to promote their collective interest, advanced technical knowledge, and regulate practice within specific engineering disciplines. These bodies are recognized by statutory bodies like the Engineering Council of South Africa to support professional development, mentoring, and ethical standards. Okay, so here's some examples of voluntary associations. The first one being the South African Institute for Civil Engineering. Then it's the Society for Asphalt Technology and Consulting Engineers of South Africa. I'm a member of CESA. I'm an MSAT member and vice president of the Society for Asphalt Technology. In terms of CESA, my organization is a member firm and I personally sit on the CESA Advocacy Committee. By the way, the Society for Asphalt Technology has its first female president since inception, indicating we're definitely breaking ground and moving into strategic positions of leadership. Through these associations, I personally can assure my ideas for improvement are heard, respected, and in most cases implemented. So apart from advocating for improvements of design guidelines, joining a VA helps you with networking amongst your industry peers. Networking can be a big deal when you want to bounce off technical ideas with other like-minded people, and it also establishes relationships with experts in industry. So you get to know who's the more experienced people out there, and you're able to tap into their knowledge base. So building a knowledge base within industry is paramount throughout your engineering career. And also having affiliations with these voluntary associations also builds towards your personal and your company reputation. Yeah, then it's the ownership of companies, job satisfaction, and having fun. So for me, true job satisfaction lies in building a business that offers exceptional service while creating opportunities for future engineers to strengthen and empower the South African economy. To become a business owner, you could either ascend the corporate ladder or venture out on your own. Either way, to take up this role will require blending technical expertise with strong business acumen, including skills in marketing, project management, financial accounting, effective communication, and client relationship building. Lots, hey? Yeah. So what can I say under business and strategic acumen? Transition from working in the business to working on the business. Master your skills in financial management, contract law, and marketing. Understand the BBBEE compliance. At the moment, there's 51% Black ownership, often required for tender preferences. Leverage local networks and regulatory compliance. Register your company with CESA and establish tax compliance with SARS. Secure professional indemnity. Can start off with a minimum of 2 to 5 million. Network via industry bodies such as CESA and CESA to build reputation. But mostly, position yourself for growth and sustainability. Identify a niche, example, infrastructure, energy, and structural design. Develop a 3-year business plan with clear KPIs. Investigate and utilize government, private support agencies for funding or grants that focus on your business development. But all this while, I'm going to say this, I think you should be having fun. You have a long journey ahead of you. Some of us, it's as long as 40, 45 years. If you do not start having fun in what you do, you're not going to be able to add value to your career and build and construct. Yeah, so I think gender mainstreaming is important because there's lots to get done in the engineering sector. Our engineering future is bright. We have the South African economy to build and maintain. So as a country, we are experiencing a high unemployment rate, which is north of 30%. And as of mid-2026, the South African economy is experiencing a modest recovery. However, it remains constrained by high inequality, youth unemployment exceeding 50%, and structural bottlenecks. And the infrastructure constraints, despite improvements, there's limitations in logistics, energy, and water, alongside high levels of crime and corruption, which is hampering higher growth. So the National Development Plan is aiming to reduce unemployment rate to 6% and boost economic growth through a labor-absorbing inclusive economy, aiming at 5.4% annual GDP growth. So it proposes achieving this by supporting small and medium firms, improving infrastructure, expanding commercial agriculture, upgrading skills, and reducing regulatory burdens. So here we go. This is where we can assist to unlocking South Africa's infrastructure potential. Women, in my opinion, are the missing key to the economic resilience and growth. Interestingly, women make up 50% of South Africa's population, but only 14% are in the construction workforce. Perhaps we need additional policy reform to allocate 30% of project value to women-owned business, implement mandatory mentorship programs, or shift our focus to high-growth areas like building information model and drone surveying, where women are already making up a large percentage of new hires. Yeah, my vision for the future is simple. I think it is to have a healthy South African economy that has absorbed a balanced engineering workforce at all levels to keep our South Africa thriving. So I'd like to thank you for your time. But before I go, I just want to leave you with a short video clip just to emphasize the fact that we have, again, policies that support us as females in industry. We have work opportunities available, even though there's a high unemployment rate. We seem to be in a good position at the moment. And just looking ahead, there seems to be a lot of work to get done by driving the South African economy. So I think it's a really great time for us to take up our places in engineering and become more bold and more proactive. Thank you.
For the first time in history, women don't need saving. We look after ourselves, and more than that, we're doing well. We pay our own bills, we build careers, we buy homes, we travel, we build strength mentally and physically. It's not about being chosen anymore. It's about whether someone adds anything to a life that is already full. We don't settle, we don't stay where we're not valued, we just keep moving forward. What a time to be a woman. For the first time in history.
No, thank you so much, Nirvana. I really appreciate you. And thank you to all our speakers today. I would like to open our session now for engagement and question and answers. And we are going to do it, as I've mentioned, through the chat box, which we have. If maybe we can then take a few of those questions and get assistance as well from CESA in terms of going through those questions. I see there's one question directed to Nirvana, which is here. It says, do you think there is such a thing as job satisfaction or genuinely having fun at work for professionals? It seems that many young professionals are mainly at work just to meet the employer's expectations, earn a living, rather than feeling fulfilled or excited by what they do. This is a question from, I can't see the name, but it's directed to you, Nirvana, if you can maybe answer that question, or you'd like me to reiterate it.
No, thanks, Tinashe. I think I've got the question. And to answer, yes, I definitely think there is a place for job satisfaction as a young engineer. Just remember that becoming an engineer is a well thought out career. We don't jump into a 4-year, 3-year engineering program without understanding what it all means. So I think we definitely think about where we want to be. And once we get into the workspaces, I think there is definitely a trend recently, or maybe in the last couple of years, to have a balance of work life, so that one can definitely enjoy what you're doing and take a break and then sort of come back and refocus the mind. I don't think there are, companies that are sort of driving staff down a road where it's all about work and no play and no fun. I mean, I'm in an organization where we consider things like team building exercises, so we can allow guys to understand each other, have a bit of fun, let your hair down. There are also a lot of different sort of events that happen throughout the year that promotes a lot of the young guys to attend, even if it's out in a site visit where you get to have a look at what is being built out there and get a sense of um, feeling that this is part of either what you're going to be or what you're going to be designing in future. So I think there is definitely job satisfaction, and companies try to bring that through. And I don't think it's more about earning a living. It's a little bit more than that. Thanks, Tinashe.
No, thank you so much, Nirvana. I would like to extend the same question to Nonhlanhla, if maybe you can give us your insight regarding this question. I think it's a very critical question, and I believe, even to people like yourselves, we are constantly questioning ourselves, as we grow, in terms of if we have made the right decisions, if we are being fulfilled so maybe from your perspective, as well, Nonhlanhla, if you can give an insight on this question. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Tinashe. I sort of allowed Nirvana to close it, but I think you need to put yourself out there, definitely. It's not just the technical vertical that's available wherever you are. There's different people. Put yourself with people who are very different from you. In every organization, there is somebody who's looking at whether it's marketing, whether it's business. Get to meet with those people. If you feel like the environment you're in is just too technical and it's not fulfilling, balance what you're doing in your organization. It also exposes you to other projects, other people within your organization that you might not have met before. That's what I intentionally did when I was working at Vodacom. Started mixing with the business people and understanding how engineering feeds into what they do from a commercial perspective. You'll find that it brings a different dynamic to your everyday work as well.
No, I think I concur with what you're saying. Essentially, you are saying, it's upon oneself to, really be out there and, exploring. And I think it's something I really encourage everyone, to do, to say, in as much as you are in a specific circumstance, you can see what you can personally do to improve your circumstance, like what you mentioned, to say, looking at other aspects of your work that you are not really familiar with, or you might not necessarily be entitled to do, but you yourself, you can get yourself out there and look at that. And I think it's something we can do. I think there's another question which I have. Maybe I'll start with you, Nonhlanhla, which is that you have led a number of organizations across, highly technical fields and as well as fast evolving sectors. And I wanted to understand from your perspective, what are some of the key leadership qualities women in engineering should intentionally try and develop so as to prepare themselves for some of these executive leadership positions?
Oh, thank you for the question, Tinashe. I will speak from my experience and the people I have that I work with. It's absolutely critical. I think we excel a lot at the technical. We know how to get that right. We know how to close that, whether it's a degree or diploma or whatever the case is, redo the registrations. We know how to do that, and we do that well. But what we don't add in a parallel process is how do I get into a decision-making position? What other organization do I need to be part of? What other skill do I need to learn? I think Nirvana also touched on it, that look at your knowledge of legal, your knowledge of finance, your knowledge of governance, your knowledge of other things that contribute to being in an executive position where you have to make decisions. You're not going to get into those positions if you don't have those other, I don't know, we like to call it soft skills. I think it's life skills. It's not soft skills. We need to prioritize those as much as we prioritize your annual registration, that you make sure that you pay. What else are you working on from a personal development perspective that's going to contribute to you being a director in that municipality, to you being a business owner who secures those contracts, that it further employs the engineering graduates that come up in the vertical. What else are you doing to make sure that you're in that position of decision making? But you also are able to stand for what you represent. You're not just a token that is there for a gender lens or a gender whatever, but you do meet all the requirements, and you're able to bring value to whatever that project is or whatever that role is. It's very, very important that we learn to be well balanced and strive and search and look for those people who give us that balance that we don't necessarily learn when you do the engineering degree.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Nonhlanhla is saying. I think through my time at Ayeta Engineers, I intentionally began to understand how the business runs, and I provided input where possible in all business units. And in turn, it helped to develop and grow the business. And I also became involved in policy identification and development and management of business risk. So some of the policy reform that I was part of, I championed and successfully revised the Ayetu's maternity policy, which included now remuneration and which directly supported female retention in the workforce. I also had sort of authored the hybrid working policy, which is still in force today, allowing for staff flexible employment and model that combines in-office and remote work. And then I also co-authored the quality management system for the operations department, which led to the company becoming ISO 9000 and 2015 accredited. So what I'm trying to say is that find the gaps in your everyday doings that eventually become recognizable. So if you want to get you want to climb the corporate ladder, you've got to be able to be more than just technically astute. You've got to be well-rounded. Thanks, Tinashe.
No, thank you so much, Nirvana. And also building on to that, I have a question here which says, infrastructure delivery environments are highly often demanding, and traditionally they are very male-dominated. And I wanted to understand from your experience, what practical steps can organizations and companies like yourself at AO2, what steps can they take to create a more inclusive environment that supports technical workplaces for women in engineering as well?
Yeah, look, I think firstly, we keep saying that it is a male-dominated career. But I'm going to say this in contrast, that there is enough legislation that promotes women to take their seats at every level in infrastructure delivery. And we need to become vocal, and we need to be able to become brave and confident. Maybe confident is the word, because there are women sitting at the various levels. They are adding value across the industry, but it's just they're not confident enough to take up the leadership role. So I first encourage women to consider looking around you in the space you're currently at, because you'll quickly find that you could very easily move up to the next level and become the leader that we need to see in industry. For me personally, going through the ranks of a male-dominated career, it was perhaps, I wouldn't call it challenging. I think it was quite exciting because I keep talking about a resource pool, and a resource pool is not limited to females. It was, it's male and female. And I am where I am today because of great assistance from my male counterparts in industry. Both in the technical environment, where there was learning and growing between male, female, and even at year 2, when I came through, my current board, I'm the only one that's female at the moment. But it was the males that recognized there's talent, there's recognized there's tenacity here. There is somebody that's willing to go beyond just being a technical support structure in the organization. And I was given those opportunities as I went through. So it's working with what you have, identifying what you have, and be brave enough to stand up and take up the role that you need to take up. Thanks, Tinashe.
No, thank you so much. Nonhlanhla, from your perspective as well, this question in terms of what steps organizations can take to create a more inclusive workplace. I'm not sure from, as a CEO in your company, what are you actively maybe looking at in terms of ensuring there's more women involved in this highly technical field that you are in?
Oh, thank you, Tinashe. I think it's much an echo of what Nirvana is saying. The opportunities are there, but I find that a lot of the women are not visible. They're not putting their hand up. They're not offering. They're not putting in that extra that's required. And the opportunities are there. It's not that there needs to be a desperate search to find something for you to fit into. It's always there. I can tell you when we put an ad out for whether it's a network engineer or a rollout manager, the CVs we get from the men are not qualified. Then you find that the female she's overqualified, but she's not applying for the higher position. She's applying for the lower one. And we actually end up calling to say, are you sure did you see the other one? So it's a matter of really us being a lot more aggressive and a lot more arrogant, if I can put it that way, and just put yourself out there. There's nothing that will go wrong. Ask for that hour with somebody that you look up to. Ask for that mentor. Ask for, I get that a lot from I get more of that from the male employees, because they're really looking to sort of, I see it as they're seeing how to fast track or to learn from somebody's journey. Whereas I think the ladies want to sort of go through the grind and prove themselves and so on. It's not necessary. If you are able to do the work and do it well, but also get guidance and highlight to say, if you want to get to XYZ, maybe try this journey, or let me introduce you to this person who's actually worked in that banking environment or worked in that environment as an engineer, so that you can understand what they actually do and how they got there. It helps you. It does not do any harm. So I think if we focus also on searching for those gems, as well as the owners and leaders in our organizations, and sort of, we might need to probe a bit if you have to. We'll get there, but the ladies really need to be confident and put themselves out there. Just as Nirvana said, I have the same sentiment.
No, thank you so much. I have a follow-up question, which is now relating to what we are saying. It maybe echoes the sense that, not to say there's no ambition, but it's intentional, that there is a certain level of growth one might want to achieve, and not go for certain opportunities because of the requirements that we know that will be required at that position. And I wanted to ask this regarding to from a personal perspective as well as from an organizational perspective, how can women maneuver through spaces where, you have conflicting responsibilities, one which might be family, the other one which is professional development. You are studying further, you are trying to register, as well as you have work targets as well. And also the unavoidable one, which is you now have to go to maternity leave, and the organization for, let's say, 4 months, you are a leader, you have projects that you're working on. How can women navigate better between those issues, and still being ambitious, still trying to do all of these things, but also having to manage all of these other responsibilities, which necessarily, for me as a man, I don't have some of those responsibilities, and I can manage things way, way better than women. So I wanted you maybe to give insights there, as well as also open it up for our male counterparts to understand as well some of the issues women really deal with, and then maybe change a perspective in terms of how they see women in these spaces. And some companies even go to the extent of intentionally avoiding hiring women in certain positions due to certain factors, or women who are married, they intentionally steer away from certain women because they are afraid she might go on maternity leave anytime and leave us open during that period. So I wanted to get your insight regarding this, and maybe we can start with Nirvana from your perspective.
Thanks, Tinashe. Yeah, I think balancing life as a whole is always going to be tricky, whether you're male or female. Yeah, females deal with much more when it comes to trying to be the homemaker in some cases, and play the role of mom that society has put out there for her. So it gets tricky to navigate through that. So my recommendation would be, perhaps the way I did it was when I qualified, I decided that in order to meet my 11 EXA outcomes, I'm going to do more my site work up front. So I sort of went out to a construction site out in Ladysmith, and I was stationed there for about 12 months, and I was the clerk of works for a bit, and I assisted the resident engineer and sort of got to understand the construction site. So the reason I'm raising that is perhaps you've got to look at your life as restructuring it, as to perhaps doing as much as you can before you start a family, and do as much as you can upfront while there's far less commitment, if I could say that. So that's perhaps one thing of doing. In terms of companies and how they view females, especially at pregnancy, etc., etc. I think that's quite outdated, given the fact that we have transcended since COVID into more digital operations, and we are way more in contact than we were prior to COVID. Women are able to still produce what they need to produce, but the working model has changed. One of those things I took away, and I created a hybrid work policy in my organization, which I mentioned earlier on, which gives the flexibility to women who are trying to raise families and who are trying to balance work at the same time. So perhaps look for organizations that have a hybrid work policy as part of the employment structure that could add some benefit to your life. I must also say that as a whole, we need to perhaps rethink about what motherhood is as well. I'm very grateful that where I sit, motherhood, I've been blessed with the nurturing side of motherhood, but also now becoming a provider, which when I compare it to my mom and my grannies, they just had the nurturing component and they were not the provider. So because I've now gotten the role of provider, I have got a bit of liberation in terms of how I can take care of my child. And the definition of me taking care of my child was simply that there are things I'm going to miss in their growing years. I'm not going to be there all the time, but I have the privilege of providing for you everything that I think you need. And you know what? I have twin boys. They're 20 at the moment, and they're quite exceptional in terms of the way they view life. And for them, it is about having strong parents. And I think that was the bottom line, to see how their parents navigated through problems and how they worked together, because I had a lot of support in my life from my partner. And having that support structure, be it your partner, your parents, whoever it might be that comes alongside you during your young family years, is going to be critical. So having build that up as well is important. Yeah, and when I look at my boys and I hear them say things like they get upset at a dinner table when there is a negative connotation against a woman, it kind of gets you thinking that they have learnt a lot just by my actions. I didn't have to say much. So ultimately, I think we have to redefine parenting. And I think I had to agree from an early age that I was not going to be there for my kids at every point in time, but I was going to make them into fantastic young men, and I was going to provide for them. And that's the new role that I took up. Yeah, I think also maternity policies are important. That's one of the things I looked at when I got into my company here at Ayetu. And yeah, I did a bit of market research, and I approached the MD at the time, and what a lovely gentleman. He's still our MD at the moment. And he was quite open to the idea of changing the maternity policy. It went through an EXCO review with us, and I put my case forward, and yeah, that policy is still in place. So I'm going to say maybe this as well. Ladies, be the change that you want to see. If the policy doesn't work for you, advocate for change. Don't just fall under things that oppress you, if that's what's happening. Because you now have the opportunity to talk up and articulate yourself and voice your opinions. So yeah, bring the change that you want to see.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much, Silvana. Nonhlanhla, from your end, is there something you might want to add on to this question?
Yes. I think let's also not forget that we're not polar opposites. We're not in some gender war. My biggest advocates were men. The people who supported me, mentored me, opened doors were men. We tend to get into this discussions that sort of demonize men, and instead of sort of if you have this skill or you have this, so my attitude was always, oh, okay, I'm going to learn from this person, or I'm going to rely on this person for XYZ. I'm going to rely on this other person for XYZ. It just propels you. It just also I've never had, I can't, even now, I'm trying to think of a bad experience. Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah.
Because it's so important that we are one. We are not, and I think a lot of men are waiting for somebody to sort of step into that circle and just be not one of the guys, but just be normal, and just we all work together. A lot of men have moved past this whole female thing that you shouldn't be working, engineering, male organ. It's I don't encounter it. Perhaps it's fortunate, but if you do come across it, I would imagine that they also live with women, around women. So it's not something that should be dealt with in a corner somewhere. You are part of the mainstream of the business. You're part of the main business. Be part of the main discussions. Even if you don't know, you will learn. Put yourself there and don't hold back in terms of being part of the nucleus of where it's happening within your organization or within the industry that you're in. Because that's the only way that more of us will bring a sort of balance into the leadership that is always required. Um, I was told that the top performing companies globally have more women on their boards than they have men. So those are the positions that I always advocate that we need to be part of. Those are the positions that we need to fight for because um, we need to make the change. We need to make the turn. And that said, we're not saying that men won't be there. They'll always be there, but we're trying to just bring a lot more of us onto that table. So put yourself out there, ladies, and don't hold back.
Thank you so much. I think there's a question here from Jenny in the chat. It says, how can we inspire and encourage more young women to pursue careers in engineering while challenging and changing the outdated perception that engineering is a male-dominated profession? So maybe I'll start with Nirvana from your end. What do you think? How can we encourage more young women to really pursue these careers?
Yeah, look, I think it starts at grassroots levels at school. We've got to attract more girls into the sciences, into the I think has been challenging for sorry, is you guys can hear me? I just had a internet unstable notification that came through.
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it starts at school level. We've got to be able to get children to take up more of the science subjects. That's the start of it. I think enrollments at universities, technikons, and other tertiary institutions should consider some sort of 50-50 split in terms of seats available for male, female, if that's going to be not prejudicing anyone or anything, any laws. So it would be good to have some sort of rule set at enrollment so that they offer 100 seats at the university, 50 seats are allocated to female, and we tend to sort of keep the seats available. How do we attract them in there? I think a lot of the voluntary associations are doing a lot of roadshows and engaging with students at the tertiary level, indicating to them that from the early on, taking them through the engineering, sort of giving them a window or a lens to see what they're getting themselves involved in. There is, I know CESA does a mentorship drive that goes out to the different tertiary institutions, sort of educating the kids as to what's out there. I know SAT is currently on a student drive as well. So there's a lot of awareness to all of the tertiary kids these days than we had, or when I was at university. There is also a lot of linkage between tertiary and sort of industry, where there's now internships that needs to be done as part of your engineering program. So you also get to work at organizations. But I think where the wheels fall off mostly is once you come out of university, Are there enough jobs to place the young engineers? Are there enough jobs where they are within well-structured mentorship program? So there comes back to my other point where we have to have maybe mandatory mentorship programs that we start rolling out in industry that could then attract females, and we can retain them because now they go through a structured mentorship program through the organization. And yes, there's legislation as well in place so that organizations are ensuring that they are compliant in terms of employing, training, and the progression, taking them up into the different ranks. So there's that that could be very attractive to the young engineer that's trying to come through. So yeah, I think the mentorship, having a mandatory mentorship program across industry could be the key to attract and retain. Thanks.
No, thank you so much. And Nonhlanhla, from your perspective, I know your opening slide was that you changed careers due to an open day you attended. So, and I'm assuming this was many, many years ago, which means those initiatives has been there even so many years ago. What then is lacking maybe in terms of getting more, women into these STEM careers? Because it seems some of these initiatives are there, or maybe the implementation of them is not as how it should be.
I think there's a lot of terminology that's not correct. Even the wording, male dominated. Engineering is difficult. Maths is difficult. So the wording is incorrect. It's already a turnoff. It does not inspire nobody would be inspired to take that up as a life choice. We need to start changing how we phrase engineering around young people, how we phrase even this constant maths and science, these maths and science kids, it isolates them. It makes them feel like they're just bookworms or something. We need to change all of that. I personally enjoy those because of the teachers I had who made it fun, who made it normal, who made it just interesting. For them, they taught me to just be curious, just be interested. It's not about the subject, it's not about whatever. So a lot of I think rehashing how we phrase these things, and I'm not saying that we need to sound cool, but for young people to sort of be interested in this age, something needs to really catch their eye. Something really needs to make them interested. CESA, for example, it's a challenge to you. Perhaps you start sponsoring their sports days. You be visible at school level. I don't know if we are. It's that's the only way. That's the only way I knew about engineering. It was those people who sort of were visible, and they were not weird. They were just normal people like the rest of us. And to then learn that they're changing the world, they're making solutions, they're being the answer to this kind of problem, that kind of problem. That is, I think, very, very important. Like now, my son knows that he's in his mind. The whole ESCOM thing was solved by an engineer. That's why we now don't have load shedding, because that's how we sort of phrased the whole issue. And he just loves this idea that engineer is the one who stopped the whole load shedding thing. So it's those instances where we have all those opportunities to plant a seed in this young person's mind, and they will never forget it. So I think we need to use, there's a lot of examples around us that we can use to sort of link to or attach or indicate or show somebody or highlight to say, that is what engineering is. It's not some mathematical book that you need to do Laplace on and whatnot. So it's just those very, very practical. Let's bring it down to a very, very practical and real example. In my personal belief, that's what will really the tide.
Yeah,
No.
and also maybe just to add, if we're going to go down to grassroots levels or school levels, I think there's so many of us that are engineers. I am one. I've come from a school that I went through. So what about going over to meet your maths department at your old school and maybe just chatting to the kids about how you went to the school and the subjects you chose and where it's led you and what engineering is all about. And I think if we also take the time individually to do those kind of things, we could also create a bit of traction in industry. But yeah, I know that voluntary associations are also trying to reach out to grow.
I think we're losing Nirvana.
Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. I think I was just saying, yeah, I think that voluntary associations have reached out to the tertiary. We've just got to put a little bit more emphasis down to grassroots levels. Thanks.
No, thank you so much. We have an interesting question here from Ronewa. She says, how do you handle situations where people believe you are being promoted based on the numbers, I would assume meeting a certain quota, rather than the quality of your work, especially among young engineers? And if maybe I can further expand it, it's something really we need to speak about in terms of, do we then focus more on protecting the profession rather than intentionally pushing certain quotas? People would say, use such sentiment to say, no, this and person was given this title solely because they are, for instance, female. And how do we, not to say, for instance, what Ronel is saying, not to say that the person is incompetent. They meet the role, but maybe it's a perspective or issue to say, how do we maybe change or promote a change in narrative to say, this is where there's equally competent women. There are so many equally competent women, and we have made these appointments based on 1, 2, 3, not necessarily just based on you being a female or you being considered black in the BEE perspective. So I'm not sure who would want to maybe take on this question first, and now we can maybe have a conversation around this
I think
narrative.
I'll just take the one part, the one I can't see who asked that question. But I think you need to take that role and move forward. Don't look back. That is a reflection of him or whoever this person is who thinks that, because I'm assuming there would have been some due diligence, there would have been some process that was followed. So if I was you, I would not lose sleep over it. Do your work and in fact grab the next thing that needs to be taken, and just forge forward, because if it would have been anything, if it was only men and he still would not have been chosen, he would have found another reason why they gave the other person and not him. So don't even give it a second thought. Because ultimately, I don't think you were just promoted because of your gender. I doubt that. Maybe
Yeah, I
Nirvana, you
agree.
can take the second part of
Yeah, no,
protecting the profession.
Yeah, look, I think you're right, firstly, just to reinforce what you've said, Nonhlanhla, that industry and organizations, in my organizations, we have processes to promote. And it's clear, and one has to go through that and achieve certain aspects in order to be promoted. So it's not just about having a friendly relationship with someone. We have yearly performance appraisals where we allow staff to assess themselves and then also plot down what their career aspirations are and the road to getting there. So it's working two ways, where the organization is identifying all of your skills and your upskilling, and you also sort of disclosing what you need from the company to get to where you want to go. And so it's a two-way street. And those PAs are quite fundamental because they document the progression of the individual up to promotion. So there is key processes and policies within your organization. So if you're somebody that's bothered about this, then I'm sure you can delve deep and you can find those things. If you're sitting on the other side who's been the promoted individual, I agree. Enjoy this moment because it's quite an achievement to be promoted. I remember my days moving from young engineer to senior engineer to exco member to director. All of those different internal promotions were very, very rewarding, and ultimately, not everybody wants to celebrate it with you. But you have to be assured that you deserve this because you've done what you had to do and you've come through shining. And the industry at large, I mean, we think about technical excellence in everything we do as engineers. We don't want to be promoting willy-nilly because of whatever it is. We want to make sure that the person we're promoting, now that I'm sitting with a director hat, you've got to make sure that they are a true representation of your company. They are competent. And we as a company are compliant in every way so that we can demonstrate to labor law, we can demonstrate to CESA that we've gone through all of our checks and balances to make sure we've got the technically excellent individual in place. So I think all round, it's not a loose type of approach. It is definitely backed up by processes and policies and legislation. So yeah, to the individual who's been promoted, well done, congratulations, enjoy it, and move on to your next thing.
No, thank you so much. And I think there's a comment here from Yanko. She says, I agree on the confidence part. And this is in part the lack of visibility that has been mentioned. Women excelling in technical spaces are there, but it seems we shy away from the spotlight, for lack of a better word. I do not have the answer or a solution, but I do feel that one of the things that helps us is who are a bit ahead on this journey, becoming mentors we had or we wished we had. Being a cheerleader for others helps, and it helps that person to become more confident in what they know. So I think it's seconding what you ladies have been mentioning. And I think the important aspect that has been brought up here is also encouraging women in these spaces to become cheerleaders of other women who are still upcoming. I think there's this issue that happens where you become the first woman. You want that title to be there forever. You still want to be the first women to have done 1, 2, 3, instead of opening the door for, other people who were similarly like you in a different life. So I think what she's mentioning is mentoring more women and encouraging them when they're doing well as well, to bolster their confidence and also give that spotlight on them as well when the opportunities come, and opening doors for other women to take on some of these roles. I'm not sure, ladies, if this is something you want to comment on.
Yeah, I think Tinashe, this is the reason why we have this such a platform today.
Yeah.
It is to encourage ladies, encourage female technical women in this industry to realize that there are more like us out there. We are all finding our way through this thing. And yeah, some of us have gone ahead and have achieved. It's about then kind of looking at who you want as a role model. And if this particular female is somebody that you'd consider as a role model, contact her, engage with her, because I can guarantee you now, she will be very willing to take you through your career journey and offer input wherever she can. And that's not just because it's something we have to do professionally. I think women have a special additional touch. It's called nurturing, and we tend to nurture and we tend to grow, and that's how we are built. And so we are not going to say no to each other. And I will say this as well. I'm not going to say no to another male or a male that has to approach me. It's just something we need to do collectively, is to bring each other up through the industry. We need to start becoming visible. We need to start becoming confident. We need to start playing on a world space. As I said earlier on, we need to grow our economy. And we got to stop thinking small and being fearful. We have an entire economy to build, and we are the responsible people because the GDP grows through infrastructure development, and we are strategically set in that. So think about that, the bigger picture, and you'd realize that there's no need to be fearful. All you've got to do is play your part well. Think about what you're doing. Join up with females, males, whoever you need to get you through your mentorship journey. So yeah, I don't know, Nonhlanhla, if you want to add.
Absolutely agree. And it never ends. I have mentors even till today. I have 2 new ones that I met last year that I approached. So it doesn't stop. The learning never ends. So just start now. So you maybe cut the years that we took to get here, but it never stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I have a question here for Nonhlanhla regarding what you do specifically in your space and your interesting company. You mentioned what is it? The word is running away from me. Is it
Okay.
engineering of things? What is the
Internet.
correct Internet of Things? Sorry.
IoT.
Yes, IoT. So I wanted to understand, as someone who is working in a space where, there's so much new technology being developed, and there's a lot of uncertainty, we are being told AI is going to take away all of our jobs, where a lot of things are going to be done by robots and all of those things. From your perspective, and what advice can you maybe give, or what opportunities can you see and you believe, are currently available for someone, a woman out there in your space, to say maybe focus on 1, 2, 3. It might help you, in the next coming few years. It might set you apart from others.
No, absolutely. I think the fundamentals are very important. Those are never going to change. The engineering principles will always be required. How you can supplement that and complement that is to add, I think I've been sort of saying this throughout the session, add a course like AI, add a course like, add something that's totally different to what you do, because the combination of it will make you different. If you maybe perhaps do electrical engineering, you also then maybe add commerce, you'll be of so much value in a commercial firm. If you add, you can do data analytics even as a course to supplement your engineering. That became a requirement in one of the projects that we had, where they're like, will you guys always come in, you deploy this solution, but we have so many solutions deployed, but we don't sort of have the interpretation of what you guys have deployed. So the technology is not an enemy. Embrace it and see what you can pick from it. We've picked just the two, which is Internet of Things and data analytics. Those are the two we've picked to sort of supplement. So when we go out to a customer, we're like, okay, we'll solve your connectivity problem, but further to that, we'll integrate into your SAP system, we'll integrate into whatever platform that you're currently using, so that at board level, at executive level, you've got an integrated report, not just a report that says this site is down or whatever the case is. What does it actually mean from your consumption? What does it mean from your environmental factors? What does it mean from a finance perspective? So that's really a value add that came out of a technology change. It's not that there will be no jobs. There will always be a requirement for engineering. There's no sort of platform that will sign off and guarantee all that. In my mind, for now, we'll see. But as technology evolves, we try as much as possible to adapt with that. Keep rolling with the punches, yeah.
No, thank you so much. I think there's a question here on the chat from Nobuhle. She's asking, she says, hello everyone, amazing insights from our speakers. I'm a student and I'm trying to have a clear understanding of how the industry works when it comes to gender balance. Engineering solutions often scale fast. How can you make sure gender consideration don't get lost when a pilot project goes to full rollout? It's a interesting and tricky one. I'm not sure I would want to maybe look at that one.
Yeah, quite fully loaded question.
No, it is.
Yeah. Look, firstly, as a student, yeah, it's a different pair of glasses one is wearing at that point in your life. You've got a few hoops. You got to technically complete your program with some good marks so that you become employable. Then you've also got to look at trying to get out there in the working world and secure employment in a company that has a mentorship program. So there's a lot of I think growing and learning that will happen through your mentorship program that will give you some indication of how ready you are to eventually take on or become involved in projects at specific levels. But in terms of the gender sort of requirements, I think, like I was saying earlier on, companies, there is legislation that we need to comply with that sort of sets the tone in terms of employment and training and progression. So don't worry yourself too much. Everybody out in the industry is regulated, and there's gender equality that's brought through. So that shouldn't be an issue to you. I think what should be your main focus is getting into that particular company, getting the necessary training and experience that you need, understanding what CESA needs from you to qualify and register as a professional. Those are sort of where you should be focusing your attention. And once you sort of get the necessary training, you would know that you're ready to participate in a project participate in a project independently or under supervision. You will definitely know. And if you're in a situation where you know you can work independently and you are being supervised, you need to speak up. You need to inform your team member that, listen, give me a day or two, I'll come back with what I have and return with your designs that are actually, probably goes through first rounds of check and it's accepted. So that will be the thing that you would need to focus your attention on. But yeah, I'm not too. Yeah, I think all the young engineers coming out and coming into industry, I think you're in a much better situation than I was in. 23 years ago, had to sort of speak my way and become bold and become display my designs and try to get attention, and that's not the case now. You have equal rights, and you should take that and you should move with it. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. I think there's a question from Velelwa where she's asking how, she says, hi guys, what are the advantages of starting the engineering journey from college? So I'm not sure, maybe Nontanta, you can give us an,
I'm
we
not
have two
sure which.
esteemed colleagues with us here, a board member and a CEO. Maybe, is it
Could
understanding
she
the advantage?
elaborate? What
No,
does she mean starting from college? A TVET college, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a TVET college.
I think, okay, maybe a different response from my side. It doesn't matter where you start. If the opportunity that you have at this point is to start at TVET, start at TVET. If you're able to start at Technikon, then do that. If you're accepted at university, do that. All of them have different requirements within the industry. Depending on which degree you want to do or which diploma you want to do, you can even start at TVET, but go all the way. There's something called NQF levels. Have a look at that. Which NQF level takes you to which position. And then you need to decide where you want to stop or how far you want to go. Because at certain levels, you're still able to convert to perhaps a diploma that you want to do. I think they now allow you to top up and do an extra year if you've done to this certain level. So it's not a question of advantage or disadvantage. If the opportunity that you have at this point is to start at TVET, by all means, please do that. But do empower yourself with the knowledge of NQF levels and how far they can take you. Or you want to do that for now, get into work, study part-time. Those are the things that only you can sort of look at and take a decision on. But you can have, there's a myriad of ways you can end up to where you want to be.
thank you so much, Nhlanhla. In terms of time, we're running out, and I think there's one more or two more questions here. One is a comment from Jenny. She says it will also be valuable for prospective students who, for example, have been accepted for both, let's say, BS Eng Chemical Engineering as well as BS Eng Mechanical and Mechatronics Engineering programs to gain a clear understanding of these career opportunities and industry exposure, as well as the future potential within each of the different fields to assist them in making an informed decision. And I think this is very true. For me, when I started civil engineering, I didn't even know what it fully entailed. And I wish there was, that insight from someone else to say, no, if you take this, it will lead you to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sectors. And this is what you end up dealing with. So I think I'll take it as a advisory comment and not necessarily a question. And I think Velelwa says as well, oh, sorry about that. I meant at TVET college, specifically in civil. And upon completing your diploma, how long does it take to register for CESA? Thank you. And yes, currently I'm doing my training and aiming to study part-time next year. So I think that's further clarity regarding the question earlier. So I would say, like what speaker said, from a TVET college, and you end up with a diploma, and from there with CESA, I think you qualify to register as a professional technician, which is PRA techni. And I think the minimum number of years in terms of registration, where you need to show that you are working actively in the field, is 3 years minimum. And in that 3 years, we are assuming you are fully exposed to the engineering work, and you are working towards achieving the 11 outcomes of engineering. So if you are doing that, it will take necessarily 3 years. But I think we've run out of time, and I would like to thank our two speakers who have joined us here, as well as all the participants in this webinar, and to the organizers as well as CESA. I'm not sure, Godfrey, if time will be extended or the session automatically closes at 3 p.m. But I would like to thank everyone.
No, thank you very much. I think you can close.
All right. No, thank you so much to everyone. I think let's meet on our next webinar. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.